Final submission.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, and members of the Senate. When we come down to cross-examining the witnesses that have been that will be called by the County Assembly, and when we call our witnesses, you will be surprised at how far the person they are describing is from what they have described him. You will be surprised at how exaggerated the adjectives they have used are. You will realize that the Deputy Governor is indeed a man of integrity, a Christian, and a man of conscience. I would like to address the 5 counts. I know there is repeated contention that there are 4, but there are 5. The first one is whether or not he took a bribe from one Dennis Misati. The second one is whether he gave a bribe to one Lucy Wahito. The third one is whether he threatened one Dennis Misati. The fourth one is whether he misused the staff of the County Assembly. And the fifth one is whether he misused his authority to have his brother arrested. On the first count, members of the Senate, the allegation is basically this, that the Deputy Governor received a sum of, in some paragraphs of their claim, they say he received 799,000 shillings. In others, they say he received 800. And that 800,000 was meant to be a bribe to enable Dennis get a job. Our case will be this, and in the introductory part of the introduction of the said Dennis, he is described as a 37-year-old gentleman. Our case will be this, that the sum of 800,000 was received by the Deputy Governor. However, that amount was a refund of money he had lent to the father of Dennis. We will be calling the father of Dennis to come and confirm that indeed, number one, he received that money from the Deputy Governor in the period around October, November 2022, and on the 28th of May 2023, when he visited Mr. Monda, Mr. Monda asked him whether he could get back his refund as he was traveling, and the said father of Dennis, that is Joseph Misati, said, yes, I can refund you, I have the funds, and actually gave him the amount. We will show from both M-Pesa accounts and from the bank accounts that indeed the money emanated and came from the accounts of Mr. and Mrs. Misati. Part of our defense team will address you on this, but I just want your attention to be drawn to this first point immediately in our response to the first count, that you will be subjected to the spectacle where a father is saying, this money belongs to me. I was refunding someone, a friend of mine of 32 years, money I had borrowed about 8 or 9 months earlier. You will be subjected to a spectacle where you have to choose whether to believe the father or to believe the son. You will be subjected to a situation where you have to determine whether the money actually belongs to the son or it belongs to the father and the mother. You will be subjected to a situation where you would have to determine whether the allegation of having sold a saloon has anything to do with this case, or it was fabricated with the intention of whipping up emotions. On the second count of the alleged giving of bribe, we do not deny that indeed an amount of 100,000 came from the M-Pesa account of the Deputy Governor to the account of Lucy Wahito. We do not deny that. However, we've explained, and we will show you the records, the M-Pesa records, showing that it was a mistake on the part of His Excellency Dr. Monda in the remittance of the amount, and that he had intended to actually remit the amount to somebody who had given him service, one Gladys Aminga, who had given him a transport service. We will show you that the phone records or the phone book recording by the deputy governor was such that the names of the two people were next to each other because they are both chief officers in the Kisii County Assembly, and that was just a mistake. Now, it is said that Lucy is eligible to be made a saint because he returned the money and refused to be influenced. We will invite your attention to two details on this issue. The first detail is that by 28th of May, interviews and scoring of the candidates had been done about 13 days earlier, that is on the 15th of May. So that by 28th, really, the person who had successfully contested for that office had been determined by reason of the scores done by the various members of the board. It had nothing, it could not possibly be a basis to have influenced who would be assigned this job. The second issue that we will be addressing on that issue is in the statement that was presented by Lucy at the county assembly. She was very explicit. She said, I received an amount of 100,000. I called the deputy governor and asked him, what is this money for? She says that when I asked the deputy governor that question, he kept quiet. On our part, we are saying that the deputy governor told him, it is a mistake, I meant to send it to Gladys. But just leaving it, we are taking Lucy's statement at its best. Lucy does not say it was meant to influence the decision she was to make or the board was to make for purposes of giving the job. Now, after having appeared before the county assembly and having presented our case, immediately the county assembly, the people sponsoring this motion, went back and did another affidavit. And now Lucy suddenly remembers that indeed there was a very specific statement by His Excellency Dr. Monda saying this money is meant to assist me on unemployment. We just pray, honorable members, that please do give consideration to that change of mind, that this change of mind is caused by the way we conducted our defense at the county assembly and is meant to fill up gaps. And probably to just emphasize that indeed it is a statement made after we had put in our defense and was meant to influence this assembly, this Senate, to think that indeed her earlier statement saying he kept quiet is not necessarily accurate. The third thing I'll be requesting, we will be showing, and we requested that you take into account, is that it is said that Lucy received the money, asked for it to be reversed, and then eventually sent it back when it was not reversed. Now, I pray that you just keep in mind the dates. It is said that the money was received on 28th. Lucy returns the money on 30th, 2 days down the line. We will take you through the M-Pesa and show you that Lucy must have celebrated the receipt of this money. Because if you look at the M-Pesa account, you will see how she immediately utilized that money upon receipt of that money. And so we will be saying the hero they are referring to is not actually a hero. But on our part, our point of emphasis is simply to say this, that it was a mistake, the money was returned, and Dr. Monda was constrained and compelled to look for another money to pay the said Aminga who was meant to have been paid and whose name is next to Lucy. Now, coming to the issue of threats, just probably one more statement on that issue of Lucy. We will be requesting that in fairness to Dr. Monda, we do recall our lives. And remember that from time to time we have made mistakes in sending money to the wrong person when we intended it to be to somebody else. And that mistake cannot be taken away from Dr. Monda merely because he's standing trial. On the issue of threats, Dennis Misati, the son of Joseph Misati, who will be coming to testify, says he was threatened and he relocated with his family. We will be showing that indeed there was no communication between Dr. Monda and the said Dennis Misati. The demand letter he's saying he made, we are not aware of. The late report to ESCC, which he says is the basis of that threat, there is no demonstration of that. It's just a mere allegation. And as a matter of rule of law, he has not made any report to anybody that indeed he was threatened to the police, and these allegations are made 8 months down the line. On the allegation of the misuse of staff, we will be demonstrating that indeed, as a deputy governor, he is entitled to be assigned some staff members to help at home. We will be demonstrating that the allegation that these staff members, and I'm surprised that my colleagues, it is not anywhere in the pleading, so I suspect it is my colleagues who have come up with it, saying that these staff were cooking for dogs. I wonder why they had to choose dogs. But our point would be this, that the deputy governor is entitled to staff members. None of those staff members have said anywhere that they have been misused. It is said that these staff members were used to dig a well. And this should be in the period of around 2012